My friends are going to show you a scary good time.
You caught my eye!
Step right up! Come on, come on! Welcome to the carnival!
Attention all kiddos! I found a lost parent!
With this ring?
I do.
Strange that you and I have never spoken on the phone. This is long overdue.
Hey, this is End of the Road Aunts, and today is the day that Spirit dropped their lineup. And this is quite a weird one, especially how I'm feeling about it. Because when it first came out, I was in science class, just finished a test, went to the back of the class and watched all the animatronic videos, and I was mad disappointed. Oh my god, I hated this year's lineup. It was so sad. There was like one or two good props. God, I was like, yeah, no, this year sucked. But then I did some pondering and some thinking, and I pondered the animatronics over a bit, and I looked at them more, watched the videos again, pondered a little more, and now I think it's one of the best years they've done ever. And I'm not sure how that works, how I can go from hating something to loving it just like that, but apparently that's what happened, because, whoa, this year's really good! They got some really cool stuff. Some letdowns, obviously. Quite some letdowns. I'll talk about those when we get to them. But yeah, no, this year, they got some really cool stuff. And so, let's talk about it.
You teach a class about slashers, and you still walked into a dark alley. Alone. Strange that you and I have never spoken on the phone. This is long overdue.
So, the first prop we have here, we're talking about, is Ghostface, who is one that I wasn't too excited for, to be honest. Not that I wasn't excited, but just like, okay, cool, we're getting a Ghostface. And honestly, I think the animatronic kind of reflects that tone. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means. In fact, I lean more towards thinking it's pretty good. I don't love it, though. I think that its robe definitely looks a little cheap, and its body, especially around the neck, looks very cheap and thrown together, too. But the animation's alright. I find it very wobbly, although he is a, like, wobbly killer, if you know what I mean. Like, the first film, he's slipping around when chasing people and stuff. And, you know, maybe it's a little better than a robotic, just fully stiff stabbing, because, you know, you would put your body into a stabbing. So, I don't know. But one cool thing about him is that you can change out the knives and the masks, which I think is actually a really good touch. I love it when they do that with props. And, you know, you have the option to display him as the Scream 6 Ghostface, or, like, the classic one with blood, and I think that's really cool. I like that they're giving you the opportunity to do that. He uses, thank God, licensed audio from, like, Scream 6 and maybe some of the other Scream movies, but definitely Scream 6, I recognize that one. But yeah, this is a cool one. For all you Ghostface fans out there, I think you definitely really like this. But I think he's cool. Not something that I love, but hey.
With this candle, I will light your way in darkness. With this ring, I ask you to be mine.
You kept your promise. You set me free. Now I can do the same for you.
Next up, we have Emily and Victor from The Corpse Bride. And I don't really have much to say. I pretty much just have a rehash of what I've said before in the way that I haven't watched The Corpse Bride. Not really something that I'm dying to watch. Pun not intended. So I don't really care too much for them. But they look good. You know, they look like they did in the movie. And from what I can tell, their animations are pretty good. Their audio's from the movie. And they are individual, but you can put them together, and they have, like, a cable that can connect them, apparently. Which is pretty neat. I think that's a great touch. So, yeah, maybe that's one of the, you know, licensed duos. The Art and Pale Girl from Party City, and I guess the two Corpse Bride folks. So, yeah, they're cool. Of course, not my cup of tea, but hey, just like Ghostface, if you love The Corpse Bride, granted I do prefer Ghostface because I am more of a slasher guy, but if you love The Corpse Bride, I think these are great animatronics. Alright, next we have one that I was really, really excited for. Michael Myers. Because we saw him in the teaser and he looked really good. And finally, we have a look at him. And I have to say, I can die in peace. He is a great animatronic. This is genuinely maybe the best Michael we've gotten since 2010? And that may sound crazy, but I mean, I think he knocks it out. I think he does, okay, he's not above and beyond, but he's exactly what a Michael Myers animatronic needs to be. He looks great. The detail on the knife is great. The jumpsuit's really well detailed. And finally, they didn't mess up his face. The mask is something that I always see Halloween companies mess up, but they didn't. It actually looks really good. Now, the only two complaints I have about the face are that, A, I wish his eyes were blacked out, but that's easy enough to change, you know, in person if I were to get him, which the chances are decently high. And as much as I do like the blood down the eyes, I think that him just being a classic, completely just regular Michael Myers would have been a little better. But yeah. His audio isn't terrible. It's breathing and, like, piano music. Not the Halloween theme. It's not from the Halloween soundtrack. Which, of course, I'm not the biggest fan of. But it's not the worst knockoff Halloween music we've seen. You know, it's not the classic do 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 do, which you know what I'm referring to. It's not that. But he's online only. And that is genuinely, I say this every time they put an animatronic online only, but that is genuinely the dumbest decision they've ever made. Because why? They could have just put him in stores, made him filler, but they made him online only for zero reason. Whoever made that decision should probably be fired, honestly, because damn. God, why? He's 280, which is pretty good because he has like a lot of animation, but yeah, he's online only. And I do want to get him, but that would probably cut into the chances, but we'll see how things play out. But yeah, Michael, I really like. Definitely one of the higher ones in the lineup. Next, getting into the main attractions, we have one that I was not excited for. The Ringmaster. But they did pretty well on him. I was a little mixed on him at first, but he's a pretty cool character. He's a weird concept in the way he like bends backward and shows his chest that has like the Black Heart's skull on it through a projector, which by the way is really lazy, Spirit. You could have made anything else and not just use the Black Heart's skull. But I guess, I don't know, maybe it could, like, be a lore thing, like, connecting the two animatronics. The Black Heart exists in the Spirit Cinematic Universe, obviously, so they're connected. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But as an evil ringmaster, he actually looks really cool. And one thing that I don't see people talking about is that animatronics always are skinny as hell. I don't know why. They always make them these little twig men. But this guy is, like, genuinely big. Like, he's 7 feet tall, that's one thing. But, like, he's kind of chunky. He's got big shoulders, a big head, like, kind of a double chin. And I really like that, honestly. I wish we saw more just different body shapes in animatronics. Not because I'm woke or anything like that. But I just think it's good to have variety on what the animatronics look like. And so I'm really happy to see another big, chunky animatronic for some reason. Maybe it's just because I'm a chunky guy myself and I like to see the, you know, representation in animatronics. But I don't know. But yeah, Ringmaster is pretty cool. Not one I'd get, but they did well on him. Depends, though. His audio is cheesy as hell. Like, welcome to the Carnival. God damn, that's cheesy. But that's kind of to be expected. And other than that, he's pretty good. Alright, next we have Nibbles. And I know what you're thinking, generic SVI clown. And yes, generic SVI clown. But there are two things that make him really stand out. And number one, the elephant in the room, and this is official, not a rumor, this is on Spirit's website, you can look at it. He uses motion tracking technology. Let that sink in. What that means is he will follow you with his head. He will look at you. I mean, you walk by him, his head will follow you. Which is so scary, I can't stress that enough. Oh my god, that is genuinely horrifying. Just the fact that there's an animatronic that'll now look at you. And that's really cool. Of course, if I got him, honestly, I'd probably turn him to the corner when I'd be using him or put a sheet over him because, you know, I'm not superstitious or anything, but, you know, I don't want him watching me sleep half naked. But yeah, no, that's a really cool thing to add to an animatronic. And I'm so excited to see this guy in person, or more specifically, him to see me, if you know what I mean. Because that's really cool. And yeah, no, that's awesome. I'd love to see that. And number two, his phrases, which I thought would be generic-ass clown stuff before. But if you saw my community post, I may ruin this prop for some of you guys. But some of his phrases sound borderline creepy. And when I say creepy, I don't mean like, ooh, that's creepy. I mean, you know, Waving Wally creepy. I mean, he looks like a jester, and if you know the situation with that other jester, that's the kind of creepy I mean. Because he says stuff like, oh, I was just admiring your costume. Or, like, I just love the way you walk. It looks so enticing. And, I'm sure he's referring to cannibalism. You know, because Nibbles the clown, he's eating. So, yeah, he's probably referring to cannibalism. But in my animatronic headcanon, he's a Waving Wally. And the fact that he's looking at you while saying that stuff makes him so creepy. And, dude, generic SVI clown, sure, but he looks pretty cool. And with those two things combined, I'm glad they could salvage something into something that's actually really cool. So, yeah, Nibbles, I'm quite surprised by, but hell yeah. Alright, next we have Bobby Strings. And, he's cool. He's cool. Yeah, no, he looks creepy. Like, he actually looks really realistic. His face looks a little weird. But it's okay for, like, a creepy wooden marionette boy. But, yeah, he's quite eerie. He does a lot of yapping. He has a lot of really long phrases. But they're about, like, him cutting himself down and stringing you up on the ropes instead. And that's a fun concept. He's a creepy one. He's $309, $310, which isn't that bad, honestly, because he's 7.7 feet tall up to the T, so like 8 feet, and he's really creepy looking, honestly. I think, like, you know, in a circus and antique show, he'd go really well, and I'm excited to see him in person. This is a really cool concept, him, like, hanging, and he has the strings controlling him. He's cool. I like Bobby Strings. I'm glad they did something like this that's kind of out there. Alright, next we have one that I'm mixed on, Barnaby the Bear. And this is one that I thought would be really cool. And then we saw him in the Carnival teaser, and I was a bit like, he looks a little cheap. And, well, yeah. Granted, okay, in his official stock photo, not this one I'm showing, but the one in the white background, his face does look better. Like, it does look good here and there, but he does look pretty cheap and cheesy. Or not cheesy, just cartoony and kid-friendly. But what definitely makes him stand out is the animation, because we saw a snippet of it in that trailer in the beginning, and whoa, it is insane. He's balancing on the ball, and his, like, upper body's moving, and that's gonna look so cool in person, I know it. And so, yeah, Barnaby I'm a little mixed on because he doesn't look great, but that animation is gonna be really sick. And, you know, as dopey as he looks, I at least respect Spirit for doing circus stuff that aren't clowns. That's something that's actually pretty good about this year. It's that they have a lot of circus props, obviously, but they're actually doing circus props and not just clowns, which I like. Because obviously we've had a lot of clowns recently, so just having other circus things will really help bring your, like, carnival display to life. And so I really like that. Would I get him? I don't actually know, because I didn't think I'd get Monty, but I did. But there are definitely other things on my mind, like Michael and some of the things we'll talk about later. But Barnaby's a neat one. I like him. It's cool to see something like this.
Yum, yum, yum! Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's not. One thing I'll tell you, though, it'll do more than rot your teeth out.
Alrighty, and the next one is definitely the fan favorite of the year. I haven't seen a single complaint about him, and I don't disagree, because this is Cotton Candy Dan, and oh, he's quite something. Wow. Okay, he's a weird one, because when the name first got revealed, I couldn't give less of a shit. Cotton Candy Dan, probably a clown with cotton candy. Boring! Snooze fest! Snooze fest, boring. Because, yeah, clowns with cotton candy are really, like, come on. But we saw him in the Halfway to Halloween teaser. Or not halfway, sorry. We saw him in the Carnival teaser. And he looked interesting. You know, pulling up the head from the cotton candy. But I thought he'd be, like, 4 feet tall. Like Dagger Mike sized. And so I was still a bit like, whatever. But then his price got leaked, which was $330, which I was like, okay, no, that's insane. $330, I don't believe that one bit. But as the pieces came together, I thought, okay, I guess he is. Maybe we're underestimating him. Maybe I'm underestimating Cotton Candy Dan. And then there I was, in my science classroom, done a test, go to the back of the class, watch these videos, and yep, I underestimated Cotton Candy Dan. I got pretty excited for him the last few days, and did it pay off? Oh yes, it did. Because, whoa, this guy's insane. Holy shit, this guy is crazy. Wow. Okay, number one, he looks pretty big. Like, he's 6 feet tall. I thought he'd be 7, but hey, 6 feet works. You know, 6 feet is a great animatronic height. Nice. And his face looks really gnarly. I usually don't like monster clowns. A monster clown here and there is okay. But this is one done right, especially because he has another thing going on, which is pretty scary. But his face looks so cool. Like, the fact that he's missing one eye and his face is all scratched up. He looks really, really awesome. His clothes are alright. They could be a little more detailed, like some blood splatter, but that would be easy to add. Maybe cover him in some cotton candy. I don't know. But obviously, the elephant in the room, his cotton candy bucket. Which the animation is so good. How he's like stirring it around and then it pops up. I was expecting it to just pop up, but the stirring it around genuinely looks so good and borderline professional. And also, the head, I was thinking, I really wanted it to be a gory head, but I was thinking maybe it would just be a skull, which would be kind of lame. But they managed to find a pretty good middle ground, because while this isn't just a skull and it isn't a gore fest, it's a creepy looking head. Like, it's got the scratches in it, it's got the whited out eyes. I think going in there and adding some blood and maybe like cotton candy in the mouth or something would be nice. But it's a cool looking head. And he's definitely a very unexpected jump scare and looks very menacing. So he's one that honestly I think I'd add to my wish list. Because, well, some other ones have been knocked off of my wish list. But we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, Cotton Candy Dan is insane. And just like everyone else, I love him. Hell yeah, he's awesome. Now we're getting into the oddities and curiosities, starting off with Gravestone Ghoul, who is one that I was not expecting to like, because Gravestone Ghoul sounded so generic, so boring. I knew he'd probably just suck, be a bad sound and light prop. We saw him in the Carnival teaser. Yep, bad sound and light prop incoming. But he isn't. Is he sound light? Maybe. Maybe techie. Not sure. I'm leaning towards sound light. But dude, this guy, okay, he's nothing groundbreaking, right? He's pretty generic as far as this stuff goes. But he's got that classic Halloween 2016 vibe to him. And I love that. Because, remember, 2016 was my first year getting into this stuff. And I just find him a really nostalgic looking prop despite being new. And I really appreciate that about him. Just having a nice classic nostalgic prop. It's $180, which isn't bad. His audio has been reused a million times, but hey, it's not a bad audio. But he's pretty cool, honestly. His, like, rotating at the tombstone is actually really creepy, honestly. Like, I think in a graveyard display, he'd go so hard. And, like, the back with a bunch of fog. He genuinely looks really unsettling. Like, especially in this video, something about him is just creepy. I don't know. But he's cool. Like, he's not something I would get, but I wouldn't be surprised if I did. But he is nice. I like Gravestone Ghoul. I can see why some people would love him. And here we have Night Terror. And I know what you're probably going to ask yourself if you watch the channel. Because, you know, I was so excited for Night Terror. The name sounded awesome. I knew this would be the best of the lineup. My prediction was like a shadow boogeyman monster. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. I'm buying Night Terror the second he comes out. Don't even know what he is. And you're probably asking, so, End of the Road Haunts, when he came out, were you mad? Were you sad? No, actually, I didn't feel anything when we saw him. Because, to be honest, Spirit didn't shatter my excitement with him. They just deleted it. I'm not feeling sad or angry over what he is. I just saw him and automatically went, alright, yep, he sucks. Next one. Just flat out, biggest disappointment of all time. wow. They had such a cool name, Night Terror. He was so mysterious. And then they made this. A weird pumpkin-looking guy who looks cheap as hell and has some of the worst voice acting ever. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. Like, that's literally how he sounds. And okay. Maybe you could call him a shadow boogeyman, but he's definitely more of a pumpkin. And he looks cheap as hell. He has the Lil Jack Carver pumpkin face, and he's like, no, this isn't my Night Terror. This is not what I was expecting. Now, okay, one thing I will say about him is that he's only $100 and 6 feet tall, which, say what you will, but at least they're not charging $200 for this guy or more, I was fearing. And to be honest, $100 for a 6 foot tall prop isn't a bad deal. He just sucks. So, yeah, let's just have a moment of silence for Night Terror being what he is. So, the next one is Wanda Webworth. And at first we saw this Mr. Dark Witch, who I didn't actually get a picture of, but honestly, I won't talk about her. She's called Towering Tallulah, and she looks mid as hell. So, yeah, I missed her, but here's my little Towering Tallulah interjection. But Wanda Webworth, this is her, and I was expecting a half woman, half spider, but instead it ended up just being a full spider, like a spider monster mutant, which I was really hoping for, a half woman, half spider, but I was thinking maybe they'd go in the direction of her just being a little girl or something, which would have left me disappointed. So, theoretically, this would make me disappointed, but, you can't fight a giant spider. Like, I'm not complaining. Giant spiders are cool. And at first, I didn't like her too much because she looked a little wonky. Like, to be honest, she looks a little bit like a Dr. Seuss character. But I don't know. She's cool. Like, she's definitely one I'm considering. She's 280, which isn't too bad. Very original concept. Gotta love seeing giant bugs. Hell yeah. Bug mutants. Nice. Wonderful. But yeah, Wanda Webworth is a cool one. And I'm glad they came out with something like this. I'm saying that for a lot of the props. But yeah, one that I'm definitely considering getting. And one that I've probably added to my list, which is a fucking mess right now because it's 7 animatronics or 9. I don't know. But yeah, Wanda Webworth is pretty cool. I'm happy with her.
Cross the threshold where the dead walk free. Enter, and in the darkness you will find me.
Alright, and next was another one of the letdowns. Kinda. Not as bad as Night Terror. This is the Cremator, who... Okay, here's the thing with him being a letdown. As a prop himself, he's honestly pretty good. He's a static prop, which honestly, I like static props. They're cool. And he looks cool as a big Fire Reaper. He's just a little cheap. I do kind of like that he's faceless, like one of those faceless phantom things. But for the Cremator, they could have done a lot cooler things. I was picturing him as like a psycho in a gas mask who was like shoving someone in an incinerator. Which I guess we kind of got with Cotton Candy Dan with that kind of thing. But yeah, the Cremator could have been a lot of things, and they definitely picked one of the more dull options. But he's not terrible. As a static prop, he's kind of cool. One that, would I get? No, he's not on my list. But if I find myself, planning out, finalizing the list, and I get some extra money for flagship or something, I could see it happening. Because especially in some of his stock photos, he does look pretty cool. But, yeah, he's, they could have done a lot better things with him. Next, we have Max Straw, which is a neat little scarecrow guy. I'd say this is kind of like a Gordo of the lineup in the way I don't love him, but he's a cool little fella. Some people do love him, and I can see why. He's 7.9 feet tall up to the pitchfork and 180, which is not a bad deal whatsoever. Pretty good deal. And, okay, his face looks a little weird. I do really like the whole sharp teeth thing, but I don't really like the eyes. He looks a little too, like, cutesy in the eyes. I think the right side of his face is fine, but if the left doubled down and had, like, a scarier eye, even just a different expression, I think that would have been a little better. But he's cool, and he's a cool concept. Being like a two-faced scarecrow floating on a pitchfork. That's cool. It's an original take on a scarecrow, and he'd work very well in, like, a farm display. Not one that I'd get, but he's a cool one. I like him. I like Max Straw. Cool concept. And his audio is pretty good. Yeah, sorry for these last-minute interjections, but I like his audio quite a bit. Alright, next we have Dark Princess, who was one I was really excited for, because I was like, she's either gonna be really good or really bad. And I'm happy to report she's definitely on the good side. She's definitely smaller, like a Dagger Mike reskin, and I don't really see how she's like a Dark Princess. But that's not bad, because, like, you know, smaller props are okay. And she's genuinely unsettling, to be honest. Like, I do like the whole Dark Angel kid thing with the black wings and stuff. And she has no face as well. I mean, she does have a face, with no facial features, like her mouth is sunken in skin. She has no eyes. And that's really creepy looking. She's a jump scare, she's a Dagger Mike reskin. So, like, she's a genuinely unsettling prop. One that, would I, like, get? I wouldn't really say so, but then again, I said the same about Poor George last year, who was around the same price. And so, yeah, she is one I could see myself getting. There are ones that I definitely like more in this lineup, more expensive ones that I like more. But she's a really cool one. I like what they did with Dark Princess. Hell yeah.
This is the point of no return. Your cries and screams are futile.
Oh, next is Demonic Gatekeeper, who's another one of the letdowns. Cause, okay, here's the thing. He looks really big. Like, apparently he's only 3 feet tall, but he looks massive to me for some reason. I don't know. He's probably going to be a lot smaller in person. But I don't really like him that much. His audio is really generic and boring. His animation with him rising is okay. He fogs, which is neat, but he also, his face does not look good in my opinion. It's like, you know, well detailed and stuff. It just looks really kid-friendly and cartoony, which for Demonic Gatekeeper I don't think should have been the case. I don't know. I don't really like him very much. He's just generic, boring. They could have done a lot better things with Demonic Gatekeeper. Kind of like the Cremator. But I don't know. I'm not as disappointed with this guy as I was with Cremator. But, yeah, I don't really like him very much. And our second last, but not second least, is Giant Death Ray. It's definitely a controversial one. because I see a lot of people not liking him. And sure, he's not an alien with a big gun, which is what I thought he'd be and would have been really cool. But to be honest, I think he's really creepy. He's $350 and 10 feet tall, which is probably the best priced 350 animatronic we've seen. Granted, 350 is still a really high price, but at least you're getting a 10-footer for this, like borderline one to Giga props. But he's really eerie in my opinion. Sure, he could have been a little more alien, but I actually like the vagueness in his appearance, because obviously he fits right in as an alien. He is an alien. But he also just works really well as an ethereal, otherworldly, other dimension visitor. And I really like that about him. His face looks really creepy. He's all tall and lanky and glowing. Fun fact, I actually got a pre-production leak of this guy sent to me from someone on Discord. I'm not going to show that now because I'm not going to dig it up. But I thought that was canceled and it looked okay. But here he is. He's real. And I like him. He has a servo head, I believe. And he's a cool one. His audio is okay. But I like Giant Deathray. I like what they did. Would I get him? Probably not, because he's expensive and 10 feet tall. But he's a very eerie one, honestly. I feel like, as expensive as it would be, if you had several of them in one place, that would be super unsettling. But yeah, tell me what you think about him in the comments. But I like Giant Deathray quite a bit. I like what they did with him. And then the final one, we don't have a name to. But it is quite an out there prop, and I love it. Oh my god, this looks so cool. It's like a mix of a pumpkin, a murdered woman, a murderer woman, a mannequin, and a diner waitress. And it's a combination of so many things, and it looks so weird in the best way possible. This is really cool. She's super creepy looking. I love this prop from the looks of things. Definitely one that I'd consider. I really want to see her in person, that's for sure. But yeah, we don't know anything about her. We didn't hear a name that would go with her. She hasn't been released other than this snippet in the teaser. But like, she's really quite something. Her face is quite creepy because it's like a carved up human face, and like there's a light inside, and she has the knife that she's stabbing with, and she's bloody, in her face at least, and she's a cool one, man. Like, this is just an out there animatronic that no one was expecting, but I like her. She's a really creepy, cool animatronic in my opinion. Well, that's the Spirit Halloween 2024 lineup, and they did a really good job. Of course, you heard me say that I hated it before, but some of these are really cool. Granted, maybe some of you still hate it, and if that's the case, tell me what you think in the comments below. What animatronics do you love? What animatronics do you hate? And I'll see you in the next one. Fare thee well.